What's going on, everyone? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Akeemkhaynes. I'm a two-time Olympian, Olympic bronze medalist, author, motivational speaker, and sports commentator. On my channel, we talk boxing, MMA, track and field, and of course, motivation and encouraging content. If this is something that you enjoy, then I hope that you subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into the video. Robeisy Ramirez versus Isaac Dogboe. This is for the vacant WBO featherweight title, and it's going to be a good one, and I think a very underrated fight. So let's get into it. Let's start with Robeisy Ramirez. 11 wins, 1 loss, 7 wins by way of knockout. Ramirez has been on a tear in the recent years, right? If you've been following his career, you know his high pedigree at the amateur level and all the success that he has and all the Olympic medals that he has, right? But he turned pro in 2019, lost his first fight. 4 fights later, he came back and avenged his loss. And in his last 3 fights, he stopped everybody in convincing fashion. Ramirez is a high caliber boxer with a high IQ in the ring. I remember when he fought Eric Donovan and people were saying how Donovan was going to be able to outbox Ramirez. And I was like, nah, like that's not going to happen. I thought it was going to be a one-sided fight for Robeisy Ramirez, and Ramirez was just a better boxer than Donovan, right? Matter of fact, that was actually a massive step up for Donovan more than it was for Robeisy. And you know, to be successful at the amateur level, you have to have great fundamentals. You have to be able to move. You have to use your footwork to set up your shots, especially if you're the smaller guy, which more times than not, Robeisy is, right? So you got to set up your shots with feints and take away your opponent's strengths. And all of these things is what Robeisy has been doing very well. Against Donovan, you could see he was starting to sit down on his punches a little bit more, and the selection of his punches was on point that fight. He uses the jab sometimes to use it as a gauge, right, to set up the shots that he really wants. Sometimes you might see boxers just throw that right hand or that left hand out there and then follow it through with the shot that they really want. So that gauging shot is just a distraction to land the shot that they really want, right? But he's a very confident guy and does not lack confidence in that department, especially in his recent fights. But that was a fight where Ramirez didn't seem like he really broke a sweat. He wasn't really known for his power like that, but you can see he's looking for the knockout now, right? And that can sometimes work against you because when you try to force it, you often get yourself in trouble. But the thing with Ramirez is he's sharp enough to evade counters, at least from what we've seen so far. Now, after Eric Donovan fight, he goes to fight Abraham Nova, and Ramirez came into that fight, seemed like he was trying to prove something, right? We know he can box, but it seemed like he wanted to prove that he could fight from close range, that he can come in and bang with the best of them, right? He wasn't trying to box Nova. He was trying to stop Nova. And there were some moments from in close range where Nova had the better exchanges, but Ramirez didn't seem like he really cared too much, right? He just wanted to win and wanted to get the stoppage, and that was the risk that he take because he could have got clipped with the shot. That wasn't the case that night, right? Sometimes you might have a fighter coming in with their intentions already known. I'm going to stop you. That's it. Or I'm going to outbox you. I'm not trying to engage with you. That's it. But sometimes their intention is already known from the jump. And you could see what Robeisy Ramirez's intention was in that fight against Nova. Now, to me, Ramirez is one of the best natural boxers in the sport today, pound for pound, right? So he can outbox most of his opponents and keep it at a distance and keep it pushing. But as I said, in his recent fights, man, he's trying to prove that he's got the full package, whether on the inside or on the outside, he can dominate the fight. He set up Nova in the corner and fired that right hand and set up that left hand right down the middle that connected and dropped Nova and closed out the show. That was a fight where you could say Ramirez was now in the spotlight, in the highlight, in what was going to happen next. It was a great performance from him. And again, a fight that he was aiming for the knockout. Now, in his most recent fight where he fought Romero, man, from the jump, you could see he was picking up where he left off, and he dropped him in the first round and eventually stopped him in the 9th round. And even though he got the stoppage and did what he needed to do, I thought he was focusing too much on the knockouts and starting to headhunt a little bit more. And in that fight, I felt like he could have set up his shots much better. Thought he was trying to force the knockout rather than letting it come. Right. Nonetheless, Ramirez is a tough night for anyone in that division. He's only going to get better, more confident, and he's a tough guy to beat right now. Right. But Dogboe is a former champion, and he's fought the best in the division. His only loss comes from when he fought Emmanuel Navarrete, and we know how good Navarrete is. So this is going to be a nice test for Robeisy Ramirez and an opportunity to capture of his first world title belt. It's not going to be easy. So let's talk about his opponent, Isaac Dogboe. 24 wins, 2 losses, 16 wins by way of knockout. Not only can Dogboe fight, man, but he's a, what's the word I would use? He's a warrior. This guy is 5'2". And he goes in there and lays everything on the line every single night and leaves everything in the ring. Usually it's Robeisy Ramirez who is the smaller guy, but this time he'll be the bigger guy. When you watch Isaac Dogboe fight, man, you realize early that his height isn't something that stops him from doing him. In his last 6 fights, he's been in the trenches, man, fighting some tough, hard fights. You go from fighting one of the top dogs, Emmanuel Navarrete, twice, right, to fighting Chris Alvarez, to Adam Lopez, to Christopher Diaz, to recently Joet Gonzalez, and you managed to go 4-2 in that span. That's nothing but respect for Isaac Dogboe. Those are all tough fights. Now, Dogboe gets busy early, right? He knows he's going to have to stick and move and disguise his attacks to get on the inside and let his shots off, right? When he fought Navarrete for the first time, he was making it tough for Navarrete, right? He caught him with some hooks early coming in, countering well and using some of Navarrete's momentum against him, right? He's accurate when he does connect, and he almost kind of has to be accurate, right? Because with his size, he has to make everything count when the opening is there, right? But Navarrete, his reach, his size, his awkward style, those shots come from everywhere, and you never know when they're going to come because Navarrete fights like strategically lackadaisical to me, right? But he's tough to plan for. And in that night, man, it was just too much. And every single round, it just got to be a lot, even though Isaac Dogboe did not back down. I thought it was a very good fight. Isaac Dogboe showed that, like, man, you're not just going to come in here and think you're going to have your way with me, right? You're not just going to come in here and think you're just going to get a dub. You're not just going to come in here and try and impose your will, your size, and frame on me. I'm going to be here. I'm going to fight back. And it makes me think perhaps Isaac Dogboe's greatest strength, man, is the belief in himself, right? And the will to win every fight. But as I said, in that fight, Navarrete was just too much, too strong, too powerful, too much to handle. And credit for Isaac Dogboe for lasting the distance in that first fight because he had nothing left to give. He gave it out there, and in the last round, it just looked like he was trying to survive. And then the second time that they fought, Navarrete picked up where he left off, and this time closed out the show in the last round. So I have to give credit to Dogboe for just being able to withstand some of that punishment that he took in that fight, and just for never giving up despite how he felt and despite what it may have looked like. Now, let's go to his most recent fight against Joet Gonzalez. And man, that was a back and forth action-packed fight. It was a close fight to score. I felt like momentum was shifting from person to person depending on the round. It was a close range fight, high work rate, a lot of punches thrown, a lot of punches connected. It was just a brawl, right? And I thought both men gave it their all. Dogboe seemed to slow down a little bit in the second half of the fight, and Gonzalez seemed to finish strong, going to the body, slowing down Dogboe and making him fight off the back foot a little bit. But each round, Dogboe had moments where he would connect, right? He would hit the body, countering Gonzalez and then slipping and moving out the way. And sometimes those are enough to steal the rounds in the judge's eye. But I'm not mad at how the outcome was. I did think Dogboe did enough to win that fight. But this is a tough fight stylistically for Isaac Dogboe against Robeisy Ramirez. So who wins? As much as I like Isaac Dogboe, as I said, stylistically, it's going to be a frustrating fight against Ramirez because he's going to set different traps. He's going to keep coming forward, and he has the footwork to cut off Dogboe and set him up in the positions that he wants him to go. And he can force him in those directions and catch him with certain shots, man. If Dogboe can use his power to back up Ramirez, right, and fight on the inside, that might be his best bet. I don't think he can flat out outbox Robeisy Ramirez, but he can catch Ramirez coming in. If Ramirez is coming in as he did in the previous fight and headhunting and trying to force the knockout, I think there are some body shots there, some counter shots that might be able to slow up Ramirez. But I'm taking Robeisy Ramirez to win this fight by decision. I think Ramirez can get the knockout, but if he's trying to come in there and force it, I think it's going to be a lot harder to come. But I'm taking Robeisy Ramirez to win this fight by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel and will be greatly, greatly appreciated. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this time, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.